morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Conversations with Richardson on WBOK 1230 AM, streaming worldwide on WBOK1230.com. Welcome back to another great episode of Conversations with Richardson. As you know, each and every week I have brought you many different stories and many different informative topics here on WBOK and on Conversations with Richardson about disability, mental health, overall health and wellness, and just drug addiction, different things like that. And today will not be any different. Today we're doing a very, very special show on health and wellness for African Americans and just people overall. And I would like to welcome my longtime friend, L.W. Higgins High School classmate, health and wellness coach, Miss Latoya Chanel. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing well. It has been a while.
I know, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So how have you been, man?
Oh, I have been good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of transition has been
Yes.
going on lately, but I have been good despite everything else that's going on around me. Honestly, I've been good.
Well, we got to keep the faith and we got to keep pushing every day
Yes.
because nobody's going to listen, and, it doesn't make any sense to complain about anything we have going on because, hey, this is life, right?
Right.
All right. So I want you, I always give my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves and, tell my listening audience a little bit about what they got going on. So I'm going to let you do your honors.
Oh, well, thank you. I am Latoya Lambert, and I am a former OBGYN practice manager with a current medical billing and coding specialist certification. And I am a health and wellness advocate with over 12 years of experience in the medical field.
Right.
I'm very passionate about empowering and uplifting women in a natural way, the way God designed us to live. My background is in interior design, which I obtained a bachelor's in fine arts interior design and ended up in the medical field. Ha ha, right?
Yeah.
From there, I was able to be placed in a place that I didn't even imagine myself to be in that time of being in that place as a practice manager. I was able to learn, to take on a lot of knowledge about the wellness of the woman's body. And I learned some things about our bodies overall. And from there, it impacted the community. And that's something that I will dare not take credit for. It's all God. Because, again, who would ever thought the girl from Aurora would have ended up in Houston, Texas, working as a practice manager, right?
Right.
So I am still very much an advocate. My friends know if we're complaining about aches and pains and our minds or our mouths are speaking things that our thoughts are allowing us to speak, we will stay stuck or become stuck and not even realize it. So I'm definitely still advocating, even behind the scenes when I'm not able to post on social media as much as I would like to at times. But I am good. God is good. God is faithful. We all are good.
Oh, man, it seems like we both came a long way from walking the halls of L.W. Higgins High School, man. To give my listening audience a little background on me, and I call her Toya, but her name is Latoya, but to give you guys a, brief, background story on us. We went to high school together. I think we're a year apart, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm going to mess with you a little bit before we get into the interview, but O2 will always be the best, right?
Hey, I thought I was a part of O2.
You are, but still, All right, man. So I want you to start talking about your journey becoming a health coach. You spoke on it a little bit, but you have an interesting story about how you got involved in holistic health and, wanting to help women get better. So I want you to start off telling us about that.
My journey, just quickly, I honestly my desire was to go to a college or attend a college in the state of New York. I was passionate about design, thought that I would flourish there. Mom said no. So I ended up in Houston. And she said no, not to crush my dreams, but as a single mom, it was a no because it would be too far away if something were to happen to you. So
Of course.
I ended up in Houston, attended the Art Institute, was doing well in my design career for about a year. And then at that time, we experienced the recession. People weren't able to afford homes or anything then. So it was like, ooh, I have to do something differently.
Hmm.
And I ended up in that time of that pause because I felt crushed as if I went to school and I was no longer able to do what I was so passionate about. I ended up becoming a substitute teacher.
Right.
And when I tell you that the people and the kids, they loved me, they did, and I used to wonder like why, like
Hmm.
this is just a pause for me, like just something temporary.
Right.
And then I ended up at that time when I was married, we became pregnant, and I was pregnant with twin girls, and I immediately became a high risk pregnancy at 12 weeks.
Really?
I was I did, and I was immediately put on bed rest.
Hmm.
And guess what? I wanted to eat so much crawfish and corn and potatoes, just seafood in general. And I experienced the borderline means of gestational diabetes.
Oh, wow.
Still, I was not knowledgeable as to what it was or how it could affect or impact me.
Hmm.
So I was angry a little bit at the doctor because how dare you try to interrupt my cravings for seafood and mama noodles, and which I still eat today. But in all of that, fast forward quickly, I had my girls. They're 13 now, but I had them. And then it was like, okay, God, I need something else to do.
Hmm.
And what I did was I was not going back to school to get another degree. Like I'm not going to get any more loans. Sally Mae would not have all of my money.
Hmm.
So I ended up finding a program that lasted for 3 months, got my certification in electronic medical records. And I just tell you, it's favor because at the time the recruiter was just calling people, calling physicians' offices. She told me to show up one day, and I was like, hey, will I get paid for this internship? She said, no, it's an externship. So I'm like, what?
Hmm.
So I still went ahead and bought a uniform, showed up at the physician's office. It was a women's health, OBGYN practice.
Hmm.
Again, no experience, just a certification at this time. Worked there for 4 days, did what I needed to do. The physician offered me a position to start at the front desk.
Okay.
Worked the front desk for about 3 months, and I obtained, at that time, 3 raises within the same year,
Wow.
dollar raises.
Wow.
And as I was learning, I began to pick the doctor and I would ask him questions about health.
Hmm.
And then there was this moment where I was stressed out. They were spiraling in my marriage at that time. And I was borderline diagnosed with high cholesterol.
Hmm.
And at that moment, reality hit. And it was like, no, I cannot. So you got to get yourself together. And sometimes we have to speak to ourselves and look ourselves in the mirror. It's like, so you have to get yourself together. And the first thing I thought about was my children,
And
married or not.
that was going to be my next question. You
Hmm.
know, what was that whole experience like for you working in the office around doctors, and what prompted you to say or ask, I should say, start asking questions about your health, but you stated that you were diagnosed with high cholesterol. And one interesting thing I want to put you on pause for a second, but one interesting thing that I want to you know say is that doctors never really give you the reasoning of why uh, we're being placed on medicines. They just give you, okay, you have diabetes, you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and they say, okay, well, take this. But that is all there is to the treatment plan. Am I right?
Yes, in most cases.
Okay.
Those that are non-holistic, I would say yes, I agree. I experienced some things even growing up, and even with that experience working around the physician, I worked very closely with an African American male doctor. He grew up in the hood. I dare not call his name because I don't want to put him out there, but he grew up in parts of Florida where it was poverty, where there was lack in places like that, similar to our Mororo communities and other communities within the city. So it was a, hey, like, why is it that we experience things such as like cholesterol? I was trying to figure out like how in the world, and I started digging. And in that digging, and when I say digging, let me just say this, I began to self-reflect and get to the root. We don't want to get to the root of problems a lot of times.
Yes.
We just want to keep it surface, because when we get to the roots of the problem, sometimes we see that we can be the problem. And I began to see like, hey, I wasn't necessarily just blatantly, like carelessly torturing myself, but I wasn't being mindful. And my relationship with God, honestly, it grew even the more. And I asked God to continue, like, to start to reveal things to me and to continue to reveal things to me. It got to the point where it was like, hey, cholesterol, let me find out from the doctor what leads to the high cholesterol. I'm finding out that high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroidism, those are top things within the African American communities that take us down. Why? If we go back into the research, dealing with women or establishing professional relationships with women that are pregnant and those who weren't, saw it, hormonal, all of the time in the office. The appetite that we develop during pregnancy, they are transferred over to our children. So here I am like, okay, well, Mom, like, what did you eat? If you remember, even though it's like 30 plus years ago at that time, like, what did you eat when you were pregnant with me? Or what did you eat when you were pregnant with my sister? Or Toya, what did you eat when you were pregnant with the girls? And guess what? Those crawfish and mama noodles, my children love. And I'm here like now, like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I buy them every now and then, but hey, we're not going with the big box. And I'm glad that they have a 5-pack now,
Right.
because even in that, just being honest, it's like we are clueless to those things. And then I'm fighting and advocating for my children because they were experiencing high blood pressure. And I think I made a video maybe about a year or two ago how God used me to help heal my children. And one thing that we found out, even in that and what they eat, that was transferred to them. Mm-hmm. You have two sets of genes. You have mom, you have dad. Mm-hmm. That my side of the family, mom's side of the family, it's known. But I, thank God, have not had an encounter where I experienced high blood pressure. I just had gestational diabetes. And I would say ignorantly, and I'm not calling myself ignorant. It's just ignorance is just when you don't know.
Right.
Back in the day it was fighting words, right. But I was ignorant to what I was craving and eating was being poured into my children in the womb. So in addition to that, dad's side, heavy on the high blood pressure. So what am I dealing with? Children who have developed appetites that was transferred from their mother and generational things. And then here we are. So it's many a times like, hey, be mindful of what you're eating. Or, hey, before you eat, you already had a pack of mama noodles. Check your blood pressure before you try and eat another pack. Just because it's the end of the week doesn't mean that you're just supposed to cook a pack or just eat them raw. So with that, it was a lot of soul searching, like just getting to the roots and looking at myself and I choose life because I desire to be here for my children beyond their years of graduating from school, just however long God needs for me to be, but I need to be here for them. And just to go on into the question that you asked about doctors prescribing medications but not giving us the answers, I'm going to just go out and step out in all honesty and in faith. And I can't say I apologize, physicians, because there are some good physicians. But if we know, we know. The physicians aren't paid to do anything beyond that. They are not trained to do anything beyond that. Yes, they take an oath. They want to care for our lives. But in that comes with medication. Pharmacia, pharmacy, that is demonic in its own self. That business was created for us to have to pour into their industry by buying medications. So if they're going to do that, guess what they're going to also do? Create foods and put it heavily in our communities, the things that we should not be heavily enduring or digesting. So, and I'm not going to say that to say that I'm a perfect eater, because people just think like, oh, you're a vegan. No, I'm not. To make that clear, I'm a vegetarian.
Right, right.
Even with vegetarianism, it comes with an increase in your desire for sugars because you've given up meat. So it's a discipline with that. But just to get back to that, they are created to help prescribe the medicines that suppress our diagnosis, but it's not to help cure our diagnosis. And I don't believe it's done to intentionally hurt us.
Right.
But we have to learn to do our parts and not blame the physician. And quickly, I know we probably need to pause because I'm saying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just even being able to help my mom with a diagnosis of diabetes, just being able to show her that portion control is great. Things that help with people that are diagnosed with diabetes. That's hard for sugars to be broken down. Things like salmon and your tuna and your vegetables, asparagus, your salads, portion control in that. And she's been taken off of 2 medications. So we have to learn to do our part. We can't just take, like, who wants to accept the diagnosis and live with it? No. If we choose to live and not die, okay, you gave me this medicine, I'll take it, but I have to go home. I have to do some research, or I got to get some coaching. I need to get in the gym. If you don't want to pay for the gym membership, do like me. I go outside. I walk miles around the neighborhoods, and I do indoor workouts. So it's a constant battle to fight for your health. And I'll take a pause.
Yeah, it's a constant. We got to go to break in a little bit, but I want you to expound a little more. It's a constant battle. And one thing that you said during the course of this interview, you said that you chose to live and not die, and that is the beginning of taking charge of your health. A lot of people, especially in our community, we have become so accustomed to eating a certain way. And then, we always say, oh, well, high blood pressure runs in the family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think these diseases run in the family, but generational habits do. So what are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, see, we're on the same page, because that was just what I was about to say. Mm-hmm. It is generational. It's a cycle. Just think about it. I was living in, and not saying that the cycle has just ended, but it's become a habit, a mindful habit, right, and discipline. Me just being pregnant with daughters and eating the mama noodles and the seafood, right? That, in addition to that, not knowing the history of my husband at the time, family side, mm-hmm, and even at that time with him. Not thinking about how these things can transfer over. And when they transfer, guess what they do become? They become generational. We hear generational cycles. Generational cycles fall under generational diseases, those things that they diagnose us with. Some things we have to just really fight and press through and say, I'm not going to do this because I choose to live. Because generational cycles, when I tell you of any kind, they can be very hard, because and this is a whole other topic, because you're not fighting just the flesh, you're having spiritual fights. And you don't even know that you're having. Your mind has to be, and your mind is in battle with, okay, all right, I want to live. And then you walk past the chicken, the rotisserie chicken in Walmart, and it smells so good. What are you going to do? That's a mental or spiritual battle. Right. Am I going to pick it up, or am I going to do, like for me, for a while, and I still acknowledge it, I haven't eaten meat in, I believe, 5 years. And prior to, I'd given up all of the meat except for seafood. So my way of coping with that was, hey, it smells good, but I'm going to keep on walking.
All right, so you know what? We got to go to our first break, so I'm going to put you on pause, right? Okay. But I want you to come back with generational trauma and different things like that, all right?
Okay.
All right, this is Conversations with Ryan Richardson on WBOK 1230 AM, streaming worldwide on WBOK1230.com. I have my girl, high school classmate, friend, health advocate, health coach, and all around good people, man. Miss Toya Chanel in the building. And hit us up, man, 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. And we'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
I'm Grant Sasheret.
And I'm Ro Brown.
Please join us for the Sports Report, Wednesdays and Fridays.
At 8 p.m. on WBOK.
The Sports Report. WBOK 1230 AM.
Hey family, Ron Richardson here, host of Conversations with Ron Richardson. If you're looking for quality catering and barbecue, you need to contact my friends at Kuzan's Catering and Barbecue Team. Mr. Eddie Bunch and Kuzan's have been serving the West Bank since 2013 with their quality selection of barbecue and seafood. If you're looking for quality catering, be sure to contact Kuzan's Catering, located at 618 Westwood Drive in Marrero, or you can go to kuzansonline.com for more information for all the services that they offer, or call 504-233-4227. Catering done the right way just for you. That's Kuzan's, baby. Ryan Richardson here from Conversations with Ryan Richardson. Check out the new single called Maybe by my boy Zaire right now on all streaming platforms. This new song is Ryan Rich approved.
Maybe if you hold it down, I might buy you Mercedes, or I might even just ask you be my lady. As long as you just promise never to betray me. Turn around and face me.
New Orleans, you want to know what we're talking about? Tune in every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WBOK for Conversations with Ron Richardson. The topics will always be hot and the conversation will be all the way live. Meet us there. We'll save you a seat. We can also talk about you and your business as a sponsor of Conversations with Ron Richardson. Contact Ron at 504-874-4584 or email him at richardsonronald024@gmail.com for more details.
WBOK. Online at WBOK1230.com.
It's the place where we can be open and honest about real-life issues. You're listening to Conversations with Ron Richardson, live on WBOK and online at WBOK1230.com.
Welcome back. This is Conversations with Ron Richardson on WBOK 1230 AM, streaming worldwide on WBOK1230.com. And we are also on YouTube as we speak. Just search for WBOK 1230 on YouTube and you can see what I do in the studio. And you can also find me on social networking. Just search for the Ron Rich or Ronald Richardson Facebook page. You can also find me on Instagram. Just search for Ronald_Richardson_Jr. on Instagram. You can also find me on my secondary Instagram page, Ronnie_Richardson_Jr. on Instagram. Toya, tell the people where they can get in contact with you.
You can contact me on Facebook at Latoya Chanel, Letoia Chanel, Chanel, and then on Instagram as well under rarebreed_7.
I have to be honest with you, man. I still go back to the days when we were in high school, and I tell this to a lot of my classmates, man. We were sitting in, I think it was geometry class. We met in Coach Marshall Jackson's geometry class, and I never would have thought, we would be doing the things that we're doing today and successful. I still picture us as those kids running around trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and laughing and talking and clowning in class, man. But I am very proud of you, and I'm going to say this, and I'll probably say it again, during the course of the show. Just continued success to you, man, and all the things that you're doing and trying to uplift our people and make people's lives better. I appreciate you for, being on the show today, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Really,
I know that I am proud of what God is doing in your life. So no matter what what it is that you're faced with, continue to do the show. That's what I hear. Continue doing the show.
Oh,
Don't
man.
take no for an answer. You're doing an awesome job.
But I've never, and you know that about me, I've always persevered through whatever. If
Everything.
if
Yes.
if a person is going to close the door, I'm gonna go around. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
Yes.
go through it. Yeah. So, but much continued success. But I want to get back into the interview, and I want you to continue your thought on generational cycles, choices, and just we also said generational trauma. And I want you to continue your thoughts on that because, like you said, during our last segment, a lot of things that we go through comes from our parents and different family members. We saw them do it, so we do it. So why don't you expound on that and just continue your thoughts?
Okay. Let me put the disclaimer out. Don't stop
please.
listening because we are about to touch on generational trauma.
Yes, of course.
But I like to just be honest and authentic about it. Generational trauma led me to write a book of prayers. I think like a year ago, with God, I invite you to heal. And those prayers derived from a place of trauma. I'm going to say from childhood trauma to adult trauma. And it's a continued fight daily. When I say when I began to ask God to reveal to me the things that I needed to see within me, why I respond the way I respond, or why I may come off with words and be so easy to clap back, at that time. And it wasn't about fighting. This is like, you tell me something that to bring harm to me or try to, say disrespect me or say words to hurt me,
right.
Even though they taught us words will never hurt. Yes, they do hurt people. Yeah. And I learned over the years, one of my previous Christian counselors, she told me, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And you know what? That is true. And just in that sense, people that were hurting me, I'm going to say that made me, because I don't want to say that encouraged me, that made me want to hurt people with my words as well. And it got me nowhere. And I had to get a self-check. And me, in that, I had to choose to live physically, spiritually, and emotionally. The mind is it's a battleground daily. So experiencing the things that I experienced, having things that I was living with and had not shared with even my family, I had to get it off of me, because again, it was a deep dive as to why do you feel like you have to protect yourself? Some things such as, and I'm going to say I don't care. I don't, because at this point in my life, it's freed me. And I know I'm not the only one that have experienced things like that, from the childhood, molestation, going into the not saying anything, living with it for years, going into the void of not having daddy present, knowing my dad, but not having that relationship that I desired to have my dad, and began to think that boys or young men were the void fillers when they weren't. God was the one to fill the voids. And my life has been so much better when I began to surrender and realize those things. Taking all of that, we don't speak about certain things. What happens in our house stays in our house, and it gets under the rug and it doesn't get swept. And then we develop characteristics of anger and characteristics of resentment, and we began to become guarded. We can't love. We began to adapt to trauma love.
Trauma bonding.
Where we think, oh, because you call me beautiful or because you call me queen, but you cheat on me or you don't respect me, that's trauma love. The greatest gift in the Bible, I'm sorry, I just have to give credit to God, is love. Right. So if we're not operating in love, we're operating in evil and hate. And at those times, I was intentionally operating in those things. But again, with choosing to live, it took me courage, even though some things were hard to face, to release them to the people that it needed to be released to. And I was able at that point to be able to become free, to be set free. Now I still don't just go out and hang out with any and everybody, but
Oh, you can.
I have peace.
Right.
You can't go back to but being around some of the people that caused the trauma, or people that want to cause conflict and trauma in your life in your adult age either. So it was all of those things that was just bottled up inside of the little girl from Marrero, where it's like, no, I have children. And I'm not saying that their lives will be perfect, but you have a mom that has a relationship with God. You have a mom that gives you a voice to hear. I mean, for you to respectfully share your feelings. It doesn't mean that we're going to change things for it to go your way, but you can open your mouth and be an advocate for yourself or express your feelings. It's not a what I say goes. It's okay, I've heard you say this, but we're still going to move forward like this.
Right.
In cases like that, some things were just unhealthy, but I know that our parents and grandparents, they did the best. Some did the best that they could, so I never discredit them for that.
Right.
But some stuff we must learn to overcome.
Right.
We can't just stay in the, okay, what I say goes.
Right.
Okay, but is this a part of this child? Is this child's dream? Can we recognize some of the gifts that they have and pour into some of those gifts? Or can we just be honest with ourselves and say, little Johnny or a little Quee just not, it's not in them. That's not their lane.
Right.
So let us help them find their lane. We don't want to develop relationships where we're teaching children to hate, and now they're picking up guns, they're picking up knives, they're exploiting their bodies. They're doing things that's totally opposite of what they need to do to heal, and that's because we haven't healed, or we choose not to heal.
Right. And one thing that I want to touch on, that comes from, especially in the Black community with families, like you said, it's do as I say and not as I do, or I'm the mom or I'm the dad, and you're the child, so you're supposed to listen to me, and it almost gives that child no choice. Like, I remember growing up, a lot of times I felt like, and you and I come from that same generation where I felt like a lot of my thoughts were not being heard because, you have a parent that says, okay, well, do this or else. And it's like, okay, well, in my mind as a child, I can legitimately see that it's not right, but they still want me to do it. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's amazing how childhood trauma and different things of that nature cross over into adulthood, and we never really get rid of it. And like you said, it travels to our other relationships, with men and women and friends and different things like that. To get a little personal, I've been known to lash out, because a lot of times I was not able to say anything or not feel comfortable saying anything because you stifle so much as a child.
Yeah.
And it just makes it difficult. So
I agree.
Yeah, I want to transition into, your health journey and how you became a vegetarian. And I want to touch on something also. What advice would you give to a person who is trying to transition into a better diet? How did that journey start for you? Like, did you start off at a slow pace? How did that start for you?
Yes, great question. I did start off at a slow pace, but my mind and my mouth said, you have to do better.
Okay.
And I choose to live. So even with the diagnosis that I received, where it was like, hey, you're borderline with, you have a borderline diagnosis with high cholesterol, I began to check the heart. And it's just amazing because even though the cholesterol, we have this thing where it's cholesterol as well as blood pressure and a lot of things. It plays a role with our blood.
They go hand in hand, correct? Yeah.
Yes. And where does the blood come from? It's pumping from the heart. So even in that, just simple, and I hope somebody catch it, it was a heart check that I needed to make, and I had to make on two different surfaces, in the physical and in the spiritual. And that's why, again, I'm glad even in those tough times and conversations, the wisdom that my mother as well as my grandmother especially poured into me, that training came into like that of remembrance, that training up a child whenever, like when I became older, I began to remember the word, and I had to do so in that because it became, how do you fight for your life? And it was a heart check your heart. And a lot of the diseases that we are diagnosed with, a lot of times, not going to say all of the time, but a lot of times are developed from our trauma. You angry. An angry person, how can your blood flow? How can your heart operate, perform at its highest capacity? And you're angry and bitter, and you won't forgive. That's how simple that is. But we make it hard, like Lauryn Hill say. It can all be so simple, but we rather make it hard. And sometimes it's hard because of the environment that we are around, and that becomes a fight. So in that, I began to eat more oatmeal. I honestly, driving up to that office, getting prior to driving, getting twin daughters ready for daycare and school, and then driving to the doctor's office. It was a stop to Jack in the Box pretty much every morning. I was eating my bacon, those I'm not even going to get on the eggs, but the eggs that were not real eggs. And I just be honest, because people will sometimes look at me and I'll ask, no matter if I'm in a health place, a healthier environment or restaurant, I would like real eggs scrambled. And I know someone got offended when I was down there and I asked if they had real eggs at an IHOP a while ago, though. And it was like, what? And I said, yes. Can you find out? Because honestly, I didn't take it personally, because it's like, hey, you're ignorant in that, not in a bad sense, but you just don't know that there was a difference. That was just something that's so small.
Right.
I hope impacted that young man's life, because it's like, yes. Are they real eggs that that's served in the kitchen? And the manager ended up coming out and was like, oh, well, yes, we can give a real egg. That's letting you know that I know that if we don't ask, you don't give.
Right.
So it's you advocating for yourself and doing it in and with grace. So that was the thing. I'm gonna be honest. I stopped and drove through, got the same meal majority of the time: eggs, bacon, the eggs and pancakes, and I would eat it, and I ate it with grace and no shame or guilt. But after I decided to say I choose life, it was okay. Where do I start? With high cholesterol, oatmeal is good. You can add fruit, strawberries, blueberries, bananas. Oh, not bananas. The strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, those fruit in the berry family are good for high antioxidants, which help fight against cancer. So it was work and knowledge that I began to become hungry for, because not only at that point, I just did oatmeal for 3 months. And I worked in a doctor's office, so I just had the physician to repeat the lab, because I wanted to know, hey,
where did you stand?
Where are we now?
Right.
Because I don't want to just be here and I just fall out in the midst of me walking or working or mommying. So it had increased. And just in that, when people ask for receipts, that's a true receipt. And that, I was like, okay, that means I have to cut off the Jack in the Box every day. Was it just a out of sight, out of mind? It was a let's stop. Hey, if I do stop, it's once a week. Or if I do stop, let me get something light that I can eat and not heavily indulge in it. But it became oatmeal. That's one of the breakfast foods, like oats, period. They are good for people that have high cholesterol. And if we wanted we want to choose life, we will do what is needed by any means necessary in a legal and nonviolent manner.
Let's make that clear. Legal and nonviolent manner.
Yes.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
in one of our past conversations, you said that, the main reason why you started doing what you started doing was because in the doctor's office, you said that you would run into women that would be just ill from, I guess, everyday struggles and everyday diet that, they were indulging in and eating. So what changes did you see with other women when you started to help them and started to, show them that, hey, it's a better way?
I believe the purpose behind that was for me to be able to get my life together, or my mind right, like one of my friends and I say, was by choosing life. And in choosing life, my behavior, the way that I started looking at life and how it is a gift and it's a blessing from God, and that how and what I put in it, it's like our bodies are temples, what I put in it, that's what you're going to get from it. I began to see that when I ate too many fries, how I became sluggish, or if I ate too much meat, or the effects after eating McDonald's. So in that, with the transition to a better eating lifestyle and not a diet. Diets are temporary, but an eating lifestyle, I was more joyful. My skin began to change, and I never really had bad skin, to be honest. The only thing that I really was faced with, and that was generational with my dad, was dry skin. So I would have dandruff, and then I would have dry skin between my eyebrows and on the sides of my nose during different months, like cold versus hot seasons, going from hot seasons to cold seasons.
Of course.
And in that, like, my skin, people began to tell me, like, oh, what are you doing different? Like, you're glowing. And that was because, hey, I was in the Word of God. I was eating differently. I stopped drinking sodas. I haven't had I sound like I'm from Houston, right? I stopped drinking cold drinks.
Cold drink. There
and
you go.
I have not had we be at war out here with my Houstonians in Chicago. They be like, pop. And I'm like, it's cold drink. But I haven't had a cold drink probably in about 8 years.
Wow.
And I started drinking water. And the most that I would drink that's not water will be like maybe a different, like natural, like lemonades and Arnold Palmer's, things of that nature. But I don't drink, even when I do drink them, I go behind it and flush it with water. Because even drinking, staying hydrated, our body needs to stay hydrated. And that also helps with our skin. That also helps our food to digest, to get the waste and toxicity out of our bodies from the things that we eat. And the more that my demeanor changed, the more inviting and warm I became, people gravitated towards that in the office, to where they were looking for me and wanted to see me before the doctor saw them. Or after their visit, they'll ask, where's Toya? So those things were impactful. And then in that, with me starting to become a better person, I started holding health and wellness classes for those women, because we dealt with a lot of broken women from the hood. So God took all of that. Like, hey, girl from Bacola Avenue and Lincolnshire, I'm going to use you. I would have never thought. But the brokenness, they didn't know any better. But even in hosting those classes, because a lot of those moms, they were naive to it, or they didn't know their worth. So I had, like, all of those things were the perfect times for God to use me to pour into those women, to remind them of their worth, even in their pregnancy, seeing how they would come in and be with young men that came in smelling like marijuana and having fights in a parking lot with the children on top, or a baby on top of a car in a car seat. I saw some things, like, I really, like, that we could have made some money with a reality show. That was real, but it was heartbreaking. at the same time. But those classes help teach those women how to take care of their bodies, how to feed their children, how to breastfeed them. And I am grateful for that opportunity.
All right, so we're going to touch on that a little bit more. We got to go to our second break. Is that all right?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we had Miss Latoya Chanel on Conversations with Ryan Richardson, my former high school classmate, man, class of '03. Shouts out to class of '02 and 2003 at LW Higgins, man. I hope those guys are tuning in, listening to all the good stuff that we're talking about. Nonetheless, we'll be right back. This is Conversations with Ryan Richardson on WBOK 1230 AM, streaming worldwide on WBOK1230.com and also on YouTube. See you in a sec.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do. Every Monday is Movie Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long.
Ryan Richardson here. If you are like me, that means you love the feeling of getting a fresh haircut and shave. If you do, then you should check out my friends Eddie and Dana Bunch at First Impressions Barber and Beauty Salon, specializing in hairstyles for men, women, and children. If you want to make a good first impression, you should check out First Impressions Barber and Beauty Salon, located at 618 Westwood Drive in Marrero, or call 504-341-6777. Remember, it's never too late to make that first impression at First Impressions Barber and Beauty Salon. Ryan Richardson here from Conversations with Ryan Richardson. Check out the new single called Maybe by my boy Zaire right now on all streaming platforms. This new song is Ryan Rich approved.
Maybe if you hold it down, I might buy you Mercedes, or I might even just ask you be my lady. As long as you just promise never to betray me. Turn around and face me.
New Orleans, you want to know what we're talking about? Tune in every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WBOK for Conversations with Ron Richardson. The topics will always be hot and the conversation will be all the way live. Meet us there. We'll save you a seat. We can also talk about you and your business as a sponsor of Conversations with Ron Richardson. Contact Ron at 504-874-4584 or email him at richardsonronald024@gmail.com for more details.
If someone asks,
Yeah!
let them know you listen to WBOK.
Thanks for listening to Conversations with Ron Richardson, live on WBOK, and listen online at WBOK1230.com. Now, back to Ron.
Welcome back. This is Conversations with Ryan Richardson on WBOK 1230 AM, streaming worldwide on WBOK1230.com. We're also can be seen and heard on YouTube. Just search for WBOK 1230 on YouTube, and you can see the entire show and see everything that I do in the studio and how Conversations with Ron Richardson runs each and every Saturday. Nonetheless, I am happy to be here with you, and I am also happy to have my classmate, man, LW Higgins, class of '03, Miss Latoya Chanel, a.k.a. Toya. Toya, what's going on?
Not much. I'm enjoying our conversation.
I am too, man. Like I said, I am glad to have you here, and just everything that you're doing in your community and trying to better people's lives. That's what I'm all about here at Conversations with Ron Richardson. As you know, I advocate for everyone, not only disabilities, mental health, drug addiction. I advocate for everyone. And one thing that I can honestly say about our entire class, one of the things that I remember very well from high school is how all of you just accepted me no matter what the situation was. I can remember, being 16, 17, 18 years old, and you guys always made me feel like I was a part of the crew, and I will never forget that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. We had some rough times, in high school, but we made it through. And thank you for being a part of that for me, because that is big.
No problem. Thank you.
We have some memories walking through those halls of L.W. Higgins that we'll never forget. Okay, so before we get back to the interview, is there anybody you want to shout out?
I'll shout out God for allowing me to still be here where I am. The children, the physicians, everybody that's played a part of my life, whether good or bad. The lesson was needed because there were no losses. It was lots of lessons. So shouts out to everyone.
Yeah, man. So one of the things that I like to do here on Conversations with Ryan Richardson is that I like to tie in everything that we talk about with mental health, because that is big everywhere. Mental health, the resources, and people just may not know about, the resources that they have for mental health. So, where would you say a person has to go from a mental standpoint to change their eating habits, their way of thinking? Okay, or do you one better? How did your mental health change when you started to change your outlook on eating, your life, and things of that nature?
My mental health changed because my mind changed due to what I was eating, what I was speaking, because our thoughts, and let me just go back just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This came from, yes, me growing up as a girl that, hey, grandmother had us in church. But fast forward years later, married woman, I felt like mentally I was off. Like I was just like, I just was not happy
You
with
knew
where
something was
I
wrong.
was.
Right.
I knew something was wrong. We
Right.
grew up saying that, hey, like going to therapy or have a therapist is wrong, but God placed counselors here. Like I'm a Christian counselor, but hey, I've learned like every counselor, every therapist, every psychiatrist need to have one as well, because when you're a place where people come and dump, if they're dumping into you and you're pouring out to them, you're empty. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to realize, besides prayer, I needed help. I needed a therapist, no medication, but it was more so the coaching.
Yeah.
And I picked up a book by Joyce Myers, and it's called The Battlefield of the Mind. And when I tell you that book, that was probably like the first 28 chapters. How many chapters that book is that I actually completed since being out of high school, just being honest. But it was so good because she talked about the trauma that she experienced, and it was both from a natural and a biblical perspective, and how the enemy will try to destroy us using the mind, like the thoughts. And what we think becomes words that we speak. And just because we think it doesn't mean that we have to speak it. That's one of the things that I've learned over the years. And in doing so, it was me becoming more mindful. This is all after I'm choosing life and choosing to eat different things. If it's someone that doesn't eat a plethora of vegetables, I tell people, start at, okay, which vegetables do you eat? Stick to that one until maybe your body or your taste buds acquire a different taste. Stick to that. Start somewhere, because the enemy does not want you to start. Just think about it. If we were created to really be healed and healthy people, why would this just be? Why is it such a fight? Let's look at that. That's where the mental part comes in anyhow. When people that have ill minds think of ways to keep people ill-minded, and you don't grow, and guess what we have? Horrible communities. People not being angry and having chips and don't even want to speak. So in doing that, it became a be mindful of what you think. Sometimes you have to reject those thoughts that you know aren't right. The more I began to eat better, the more my mind and my thinking and even my responding, like I learned to respond. I don't have to clap back. I don't have to give a reaction, because again, I have to remember, hurt people.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And then I'm the one that's asking God for forgiveness. Like, no, like it's be mindful. And I'm not saying that we're at a 100% capacity, but I am and thankfully in a much better place than I was. But I would say food. Food is one of those indicators that feed our nervous system and feed the brain. So whatever it is that we're eating and we're noticing that we're off, our body, when I say off, body is shaking, blood pressure, your head hurts, things of that nature, think about what is it that you ate.
All right, so speaking of eating, we're about to close out here in a few minutes. What is Toya's guilty pleasure? What does she love to have before we get out of here?
I would say,
Quickly.
I know you all, my yogurt that I will post. I would say yogurt and ice cream. Yogurt, the frozen yogurt is good, but sometimes I like to indulge in the caramel. The caramel. I will say, and I'll eat about $9 worth of it when I fill that cup up.
Wow. All right, one more time before we get out of here. Where can the people get in contact with you in positive words of encouragement to my listening audience? Take it away.
Latoya Chanel on Facebook, LETOIA Chanel, CHANEL, and on Instagram, rarebreed_7. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Ronald. I appreciate it.
Man, much love, always, 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 and continued success. Positive words of encouragement, quickly.
Be mindful of what you think. Be mindful of what you eat. Be mindful of what you speak. Everything matters.
All right, man. Another exclusive Conversations with Ron Richardson. I will see you next week. Peace and love, New Orleans. And remember, healing and recovery start with you. All the best to you, Latoya, all right?
All right. Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Peace, New Orleans. Love you.
WBOK online at WBOK1230.com.